number one rule for English is?
What's that?
The number one English rule.
Unveiled, on-device, real-time translation for FaceTime and phone calls.
One, two, three, four.
Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.
Before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome to The Business Game, where we dive into strategies that empower leaders to excel in today's global business landscape.
Today, we're thrilled to introduce Myke Wilder, a seasoned expert with 28 years in corporate communications and 13 years as an ESL coach.
Myke brings a unique perspective, having navigated bilingual environments in English and French while managing a hearing disability.
His TEDx talk and work focus on helping leaders communicate effectively with the 2.2 billion L2 English speakers worldwide.
Myke goes on explaining how leaders can clearly communicate with L2 staff members and shares his best tips to move the needle in their business. Developing a global English voice to unlocking potential of multilingual teams, Myke's insights are actionable and inspiring.
Let's get started with Myke Wilder.
This is The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. Welcome to The Business Game, Myke. It's so lovely to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Just to kick things off, you're over in Montreal in Canada, and you said you've got a lot of forest fires and stuff like that happening over there at the moment, which is not ideal, but you're safe where you are.
Yeah, we're all fine.
Amazing. Why don't you give our listeners and viewers just a brief overview of who you are, what you do, and then we'll tackle the hard questions with you.
Okay. So, as a native of Montreal, which is the world's fourth largest French-speaking city, I kind of grew up in two languages, but I'm an Anglophone. I'm a native English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I started learning French in elementary school and all through school, but my French teachers weren't French. My French teachers were my regular English teachers, which means that I still have some trouble with conversational French. My accent is not very good. And this is actually something that people all over the world face. Three out of four countries around non-native English-speaking countries around the world, they have some element of English in their school systems, but the teachers are local, and they don't really get to learn the flavor of the language. So that can make it a struggle, but I've worked my whole life in both languages. Now, I had a long career in corporate communications. Mostly my job was to be the English guy in the room while a bunch of Francophones talked about what they wanted to do, and then I would tell them how to do it in English for the rest of the world, rest of Canada. About 13 years ago, I switched gears, and I became an English second language coach, specialized in business English. And along the way, my hearing failed. Mm-hmm. And in order to deal with my hearing disability, I'm wearing hearing aids now. I got specialized training courses in how to deal with my hearing disability, how to set up meetings and manage things, speech reading, which is what lip reading is called now. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I learned was that comprehension, if you're hearing disabled, comprehension is a function of the speaker. It's not you. You're counting on the speaker to speak with clarity. Mm-hmm. What I realized is that working in your second language and working with a hearing disability are pretty much the same. Because if you can't hear the words, you can't understand the sentence.
Yeah.
And what I came to know through experience is that people are a lot nicer If you ask them to slow down because you have a hearing disability, then if you're speaking in your second language, there's just this tendency like, well, you should know it. You're learning the language and you're here and you speak and listen. And
Yeah.
it's fine. So that has led me on a bit of a campaign
Mm-hmm.
to help or to teach that it is really up to us, the 400 million ethnic English speakers in the world, as there are 2.2 billion English second language speakers.
Yeah, wow. That's a lot.
So they outnumber us like 5 to 1.
Absolutely.
But we have a responsibility, and that is what I have been coaching, and this is the message that I'm spreading.
Okay. So what specific techniques would you, so bringing this into a corporate sense, into the business world, what specific techniques can leaders use to adjust their speech, to, pace their vocab and tone, I guess, to what we call the L2 English speakers? How can they understand that they need to change their way of speaking, but without sort of patronizing the listener?
Well, the first thing is a mindset shift. And that is the shift from speaking to convince, which is what most of us do, to speaking to be understood, to focus on the listener and the needs of the listener. Now, there are ways to adjust and adapt. One of the first things that you can do is you can listen to your favorite newsreader on the national news, because broadcast journalists learn how to speak to be understood.
Yeah.
They speak a little more slowly, but not a lot more slowly, but they pronounce almost all the words.
Do you know what's funny about that? Is I've actually got, my best friend is a journalistic newsreader. And I always say to her, I'm like, who is this person on air? Because you don't speak like that to me. Like, you have a news reading voice. And she's like, it's no different. I'm like, it is very, very different.
It's enormously different.
Yeah.
And here's the big difference. We use, in regular conversation, we use something called connected speech. And I'll just give you a quick example. We'll take a simple little sentence. I adore Australia. Is that a good sentence for you? Is that okay?
Yep.
Yes.
I adore Australia. Now, we, as English speakers, we hate words that start with vowels.
Yep.
Because words that start with vowels mean we have to pause. Those vowels, they have origins here. And we have to tighten up, we have to generate that. So we don't like it. So I adore, we slip a little Y sound in there. And it becomes I adore.
Yeah, that is so true, especially
It's
over
called
here
a
in
Y
Australia.
glide. Now, if it was you and not I, we'd put a W glide in, you adore. Now, there's no W in you adore, but we slip that in to bridge it, to make it go faster.
I've never thought about it.
And then we have the third word, Australia, starts with an A. We don't like that, but adore ends with an R. So we take that R off adore and we stick it onto the end of Australia. And it becomes, I adore Australia. I adore Australia.
My mind is blown right now.
I'm thinking about it and it's like, okay, wow, okay. I've never thought about it.
But to an L2 English speaker who is under really high proficiency, I think they're very high proficiency, fluent English second language. They come in all shapes and sizes. But to an average second language speaker, it's a mush. It's all one word. So one of the things in speaking to be understood is just disconnecting the words. The small words you can connect, go to or something like that, but keep the words straight. That's the first thing.
That's an amazing
the
tip.
way that you can tell if you're speaking too fast is if you can't get any air through your nose, then you're speaking too fast. If you're speaking too fast, then you're breathing through your mouth and your chest is tight and you're going really fast and there's no way you can get air through your nose. But if you have a more moderate speed, and I'm doing it right now, this is not like slow, it's not slow speech, it's not patronizing. I am just enunciating better a little more slowly, and I can get air through my nose so I don't have to stop to gasp for air. I just stop when, a sentence is over or for effect. So this, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as Australians, we're notorious, like absolutely
Our
notorious,
slang.
our slang, and we will join every word together in a paragraph.
Or shorten the words.
Yeah,
I know.
we are terrible.
I actually know. I had a client. I worked with a client who worked for a very large multinational. She was here in Quebec. She's a francophone. She was working in the communications group. Her company had merged in the multinational, and she hired me because she was reporting to people in London, and she just had a horrible time with the English accent. So I was working with her to help her build that. And then they got a new CEO who was Australian.
Oh no!
And here's the interesting thing about that, because when he made videos that were disseminated to the employee group, she understood him quite well. But when he came and visited and just started talking to them, and he was a very friendly and engaging guy who wanted to get to know everyone, she couldn't understand him at all. So he actually had a voice that he could use, but he used it for video.
Yeah.
And it didn't occur. Someone said, you should use that voice when you come to Quebec and speak to all the francophones who are speaking English second language.
Okay.
So just another thing that you can do is you can just keep your sentences shorter. I mean, 15 words is about as long a sentence as you need to make. You can stop and break it up into pieces.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay, because I think I mentioned to you in one of my emails is that I personally, I'm a big advocate for, hiring someone based on their skill, rather than if they are a native English speaking person. And I've got several people in our employ that I've got one in particular that learnt English when she got employed here. So she only knew a few words, but her work was outstanding for what I needed. So I did find that with her, I did shorten my sentences. I did speak slower, but at the same time, I did feel like, and this is probably more on me, that I was patronizing her for not understanding me, even though I knew and she knew that she couldn't understand me if I spoke really quickly, like you just did in your example and as I'm doing now. She wouldn't have understood any of that. So I did find that I automatically shortened my words, shortened my sentences, left gaps and stuff like that. But I still had that underlying feeling of, oh, am I making her feel bad? Like, am I almost, through lack of better words, dumbing it down too much? And I hated that feeling that I was making her feel like that.
I think the cure for that, and I understand that, and that's a really honest feeling and an honest assessment, but the cure for that is to create an atmosphere for her that says, it's okay for you to say, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that? Because hundreds of thousands of workers who speak English second language all over the world, they live in fear.
Mm-hmm.
They're in meetings and they lose the whole conversation and they're just lost and nobody notices and they don't say anything because they're afraid to look up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I advocate, and this will be fine on the video for the audio people, this symbol, and I've got my hand raised sort of in front of my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my right hand is up, and the fingers and the thumb form a C. Now
Yeah.
I'm looking at it's a backward C.
Yep.
And that symbol means clarification or comprehension. And having that hand signal, you don't have to say, but no, I didn't. It just lets you sit in.
Yeah.
And if you
Right.
incorporate that in your meeting structure, then people can signal to you if you've gotten too fast, if they haven't understood something, you've used an idiom, and it's much more comfortable for them. It's quiet, and it lets you react at an appropriate time. You don't have to just stop. It's like, okay, I have a problem there. I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to find out what it is that they're having trouble with. But really having that as part of office practice, that everyone practices and that everyone understands, giving them that ability to signal or just say or interrupt, it takes a massive amount of fear out of their office, and it makes your office flow much more, much better.
So, Myke, what's some common mistakes that managers make when they're speaking to a staff member with a second language of English?
Well, I think the thing really is speaking too fast. I think another thing is using idioms and expressions. A lot happens in the onboarding process. How you bring someone in. And I think that one of the really important things is to prepare a glossary of terms, a dictionary of words that are really strictly for their job or your office.
Mm-hmm.
And having a document like that you can give them and help them understand what those words are, that makes an immediate leap. I've worked in both languages my entire life. And every time I changed jobs, and especially a lot of years that I was a consultant, so I kept moving from one industry to the other, I always had to learn a new vocabulary. Because in English, yes, I have a very wide, broad vocabulary, and I always understood what people wanted. But in French, it was really difficult.
So would you make an attempt to speak their native language or just avoid
Sorry?
that? Would you attempt to speak their language?
Well, I speak French.
Yeah.
I do speak French, but this is after years and years and years of working. My comprehension is very, very good. And I have the advantage of being hearing disabled. If I ask people to repeat something, which, sorry, I didn't catch that, they're, oh, fine. It's Myke has a hearing problem. Before that, it was, really?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have some Japanese clients. So
Yes.
how does that work? They speak. Are you educating them or helping them with their English or?
It's a typical 2025 situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multinational based in Austria. They bought a factory in Granby, Quebec, which is about an hour and a half from Montreal. And they have a sales and support team in Japan because they have a good market for their product there. But so the Austrians in Austria speak Austrian, and the whole plant in Quebec runs in French. and they speak Japanese in Japan with their clients. But when they have team meetings or they have to do something, they all speak English.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I never thought about it like
And
that.
that is just the way of the world now.
Yeah. I guess we are lucky that we don't, as the English speakers, we don't need to learn other languages, because I can tell you, I've tried to learn French and Italian, and I am absolutely rubbish. I am rubbish.
Well, I will tell you that we are not lucky. We are blessed.
Yeah, we are.
Because we don't have to learn another language. I mean, I did because I live with it.
Yeah.
But it is really, but the thing is, with that blessing comes a responsibility.
Absolutely.
A responsibility to support all of these 2+ billion people just by recognizing their needs and speaking more clearly and helping them advance. Because they're going to get better. You know, working in your second language is a 5-day-a-week language immersion course.
Absolutely.
They always get better.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
And if they get help, it goes much faster.
What's and you don't need to disclose what their native language was, but what's one, because I have a few with the girls that I work with where they've mixed something up that I've said, or they've understood it differently and they've repeated it back in a totally different manner that meant something else. What's one of the funniest, I guess, translations that you've dealt with where you've had to go, no, I didn't mean we were like riding a kangaroo down the road or something like that?
The worst thing that I have ever seen, it was in the mid-90s, and I was consulting to Bell Canada, and that's the telephone communications company. And I was approached by one of the Bell junior managers, and she said, I got this from Minitel, which used to be the French in France telephone company, and it was a survey.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I can't understand the survey. And the survey was just the worst translation you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And there was a line that said, it literally said, you might think that you have other cats to whip, but you need to do this, which sounds weird, but the fact is that in French, they do not have other fish to fry. Ils ont des offshore à fouetter. They have other cats to whip. And they just literally translated the idiom from French without checking to see what the English one was.
That's fantastic.
and it turned out for her, for this manager at Bell, the only way to understand what they were writing was to be an Anglophone who spoke French.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it was a mess.
I've heard some good ones, and I've experienced some good ones here with some of the team, but that I think I agree takes the cake.
Well, okay. But on this subject, okay, yes, it's funny.
Yeah.
But laughing is bad. Because
absolutely.
when you laugh, the speaker retreats, they embarrass. I was in a meeting with the management team of a large company, and we were starting a project, and I was concerned about data management for the reports that I had to write, and I wanted to say that I was afraid that the project was going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I used the French expression, faire faillite, that it would make a failure. And they all froze, and they all looked at me. And the vice president of finance said, faire faillite? Well, it turns out that faire faillite is the French expression for going bankrupt, the whole company.
Oh.
I suggested that if we got this wrong in the project, the company, and this was a company, a giant chain, that it was going to go bankrupt. And we got that source out that I should have said faire en échec, which would mean the project would be stopped or would not work. And I was properly embarrassed.
Yeah.
And she said to me in French, usually when we have these meetings with consultants, we all have to speak French, even though it's a French company. The consultants always come in and speak English. We really appreciate the fact that you came in and you took this meeting in French. You made a mistake. It's all fine.
Yeah.
If you make other mistakes, we'll fix that. But we really appreciate you coming in and speaking French. And that was the moment that I became part of their team. That I would do anything for those guys to make sure that their project succeeded because I trusted them.
I know a few people who speak English as their second language, and they're English teachers one's in Germany, one's in Vietnam, and one's in Philippines. They've always told me that their biggest issue is confidence when they are speaking English, but they find that they lack the confidence to speak English when they're speaking to a native English speaker. So they hide a little bit. They're a little bit more quiet, and they don't want to say what they want to say because they fear they're going to be chastised or laughed at.
And that is why that supportive mindset, that supportive atmosphere that says it is all right for you to ask for help. It's all right for you to signal. That could be unobtrusive. Not only is that important, it has to be driven through the whole company, because from the bottom to the top, that we have an obligation to support our second language work. They're here to work. And let's face it, finding people to work is the number one problem facing most companies.
Absolutely.
Okay. And immigrants come in and they want to work and they're ready to work. And all they want is a safe environment that they can get the job done and get the help that they need.
Okay.
So that really,
I guess that is one of the key mindsets changes that
absolutely
C-level, executives can implement within their team and lead effectively by their own example.
yes.
On the flip side of that, and I'm sure we've all experienced this, is how can leaders overcome frustration or impatience when communicating with an L2 speaker? I think we all know that we shouldn't do that, but I guess when you're running a business and time is on a crunch, like you're at the pointy end of the stick, so to speak, and time is of the key factor right now, and you're trying to communicate something and they're not understanding it. How can a leader be like, okay, I'm getting frustrated. Obviously, I need to take a step back, but how can they get to that point where they're not getting that frustration or that impatience with an L2 English speaker?
They can start writing things down.
Yeah.
Because a lot of L2 speakers, because their teachers aren't L1 speakers, they kind of learn English as a written language. They learn grammar rules and they learn reams and reams of words, but they never hear the conversation. So if push comes to shove and you really need, and I really advocate this for frontline managers who are managing a plant floor or have a team on a work site, or even in a coffee shop where you are training people. If you have written materials, if you write something down, generally they will read it better than they're hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I found even when I was trying to learn French, I found that I could read it way better than I could speak it or hear it.
And the other thing is because everybody has a phone.
Exactly.
If there's a word, they'll look it up. They'll
pull up Google Translate.
When you're reading, you have your time.
Yeah.
when someone is speaking, it's got to be instantaneous, and that's hard.
Yeah. Okay. So how does cultural intelligence, I guess, intersect with language skills in leadership? And is there, or what's one actionable step a leader can take to improve both of those things?
Well, so language mastery, functional linguistics, being functionally fluent, it really allows you to communicate your ideas and really connect with ideas. On the cultural side, it helps you tailor your message so that it is better understood. And it's easier to make connections. And it also helps you quite a bit in terms of dealing with controversy or managing problems.
Okay.
I'll say something unpopular.
No, do it.
Right?
I love unpopular
the
takes.
The cultural shift
Yep.
that companies are dealing with is not necessarily the cultural differences that are brought by English second language speakers. It is the cultural shift that is brought by generational shift in the workforce, younger people with a different culture, with different ideas of what work is. And companies are somewhat hard pressed to sort of change their culture or integrate their culture for what are essentially new cultures that are emerging in our societies.
So what would be a good example, I guess, from your side? Say there's an American or a Canadian-based company, and they are outsourcing to, I don't know, Indonesia or South Africa or wherever it may be, to outsource that. So these Indonesia, South Africa, say Canada, are very different culturally in how they would work. How would you, being the main business in Canada, implement these cultural changes so as not to affect them as much? So obviously they're already undertaking, learning English, trying to blend in, I guess, as much as they possibly can in that way. But then, as you said, comes the cultural differences as well. So what can that then Canadian main company do to help support that?
Well, okay. I think and again, this is possibly going to be unpopular.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake to insist that everyone speak English all the time in the office, whether you're in an outsourced office in Indonesia or, whether you're in Brisbane and you have a small group that you brought on visas to do a job. If they all speak the same L1, let them work in their L1. And the reason for that is neurolinguistics, actually. Neurolinguistics teaches us, and the studies are definite, that our brain structure, our neural net is formed by that first language that we learn as toddlers from our parents or whatever, but that first language. So we think better in our L1 and we're more creative in our L1. And yes, we need L2 speakers to talk to us in English and explain what they're doing in English. But if they're in their office working on a problem and they're working on it in their own L1, it means they're probably working better and faster and more creative. Okay. So really something that pushes people to speak English when they don't have to at work. And obviously they have to present and they have to attend meetings, and yes. But if they're on their own or you have a small team that has the same L1, let them work in their own language. And if you worry, if you're kind of a micromanager saying, well, they're all speaking German and I don't know, or
Yeah, what are
Indonesian,
they
I don't
saying?
know
What are
what
they
they're talking
doing?
about.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, you can stick your head and say, hey, what you working on?
yeah,
And they
yeah.
will tell you what they're working on and say, I can't wait to hear about it.
So
It's fine.
on the
You've
flip
done what you
side
need
of
to do.
that,
You've found out that they're on the job
yeah.
and they're doing it the best they can.
On the flip side of that, just because I know people will be listening and thinking, well, if they're learning English and they're speaking, to be clear, I 100% agree with your points. I agree. If I know that if you're translating all the time into your second language, you are slowing yourself down. You're not being as productive as you ordinarily would be. But
It's
I know
also exhausting.
yeah. But I know people will be listening thinking, yeah, but if they're working for an English company and we've employed them into our English speaking company, how do we know that they are doing what they're saying they're doing? As you said, you've already pointed that out, that you can just in fact ask, but also won't their English not elevate as quickly by reverting back to their native language all the time? Should they not be putting their English into play to continue practicing it, to get better at it? And I guess when you're in the office for the majority of your life, which it feels like, and we are, would that not help them speak better English in a faster pace to stay on top of English itself?
There could be a loss, a small loss, not so much, but a little loss of fast progress in their acquiring English.
Mm-hmm.
But their actual work productivity
Is down.
would improve.
Yeah.
So where is your priority?
Yeah.
Do you mean people who are getting their work done quickly, who are coming up with new ideas, who are designing ways to do things, who are solving problems quickly and efficiently, and then coming to you and telling you what they've done in English?
Yeah. I think that's put brilliantly. And I 100% agree. If you're going to do something in, a quarter of the time, because you haven't had to process the second language and then think about it. And as you said, it's exhausting. I was exhausted when I did Duolingo, and that stupid bloody owl used to crack on at me all the time. And it's hard work. Like I don't pity anyone that has to learn a second language. That's not the right word, but I'm in awe of it because I can't do it. Right.
It's not easy, but billions of people are doing it.
Yeah. On that, you mentioned before writing it down is good because if there's a word they don't know, we've all got a phone or we've got the, whatever it may be, we've got technology in front of us to help us, right? So,
Right.
So the WWDC of 2025, which is the Worldwide Developers Conference for Apple, has not long happened. And they have actually unveiled on-device real-time translation for FaceTime and phone calls. No cloud is required for that. And they are saying that it's sub-second latency and privacy protection. So basically, it's almost real-time translation. How do you think that will help L2? English language speakers? We'll say English because that's what we're talking about.
Well, I think that is a terrific tool for those occasions where a leader is really having difficulty and really needs to get something across and is just really frustrated having difficulty. I don't think it's a good idea to use it all the time because then that is really going to retard the time that people need to learn English.
Mm-hmm.
So they should be encouraged to speak and to work on their English, and that's a fallback if you get into trouble.
Yeah. Okay. It's going to make being a tourist a lot easier as well, isn't it?
Well, especially if you don't need to learn the language, but just one-off to, when you do visit a country for a few weeks and
it's great for that.
Yeah. How about AI? What's your exposure to AI in your space?
In my space, I find that there are some AIs that are specifically for translation, and they can do a credible job, but always have to correct it. It's never going to be perfect. One of the really hysterical things. I mean, we're going back. I mean, AI has obviously advanced, but when Google Translate first came out, all of us in communications, we would write stuff and we would copy it into Google Translate and we translate it into another language and then we'd paste it onto the other side and translate it back to the first language, and it never made sense.
I still do that.
Terrible.
I still do that.
I do that every day.
What's it going to say now?
So this is a work in progress, and I think that AI is a fantastic tool, but I don't think it's ready to take over, and I think that it's not gonna. I think it's not going to replace human contact.
Yeah.
I certainly hope not.
Who knows? Who knows? It's gone a bit wild, AI. It's getting scary, and
Particularly this year, it's moving on at a tremendous pace.
it is. And they've I'm sure you're probably aware, being in the space that you're in, but it's now able to copy your vocal cords and replicate your vocal cords, and then you implement something like put AI into doing outbound phone calls for you and stuff like. It's terrifying.
But there are people who have AI generated copies of themselves, speaking with their voice, doing videos or commercials or ads for them, so they no longer have to be in the studio recording ads or recording social media. They just have this computer generated avatar.
So what you're telling me, maybe. Myke, maybe it's not really me here. Maybe I am just a copy and avatar of myself.
Still in bed.
Maybe
Still in bed on this cold day.
You know what?
He's real.
I don't think they've made an AI that can drink coffee yet.
Good point. You'd probably see it going down.
Or I have 6 fingers or something on the coffee mug.
So true. Okay, so what I would like to ask you is, while we're on the AI thing, what are some practical tools? So you've got 13 years experience as an ASL coach. What's some quick training exercises that managers can implement to improve their team's L2 English comprehension?
Well, I think one of the really great quick exercises is to do role plays. Mm-hmm. If you have an L2 speaking employee that you want to work with, we have another L1 English speaking employee that they role play the customer. Mm-hmm. Or the customer or the manager, and you put them in this situation, and then you can do a fast role play for a couple of minutes, and it gives them a lot of practice. It lets you see where they are, what they're understanding. So I think that's a really, really interesting thing that you can do.
I remember going through, I used to be in sales, and the role, when it was like, okay, let's role play, and I would just go, and I would sink away and be like, oh my God, please don't pick me. Please don't pick me. And it is so overwhelming, but you do learn quick. Like, you learn so fast that, and you remember it, you retain it, because you're like, oh my gosh, they asked me this in that role play where I was dying on the inside. I was bright red through embarrassment, but I've now retained that information that was told to me.
And what happens is that after the role play, when the L2 goes back to work, and then somebody comes up and all of a sudden they're in this situation that they've role played, it's like, I know what to do. And that's where your confidence comes in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Dan, did you ever have to do the dreaded role play?
Oh, in sales, it's awful.
It's a sales thing,
I prefer
isn't
to do
it?
it in something else, but in sales, just awful.
Same. It's like, here, sell me this pen. No.
But can you just imagine doing the second language?
Oh, It would be so overwhelming in a second language in a role play.
Well,
But
that's why you have to start with that document, which gives the vocabulary that is specific for that job,
yeah,
and you can get your L1s to help you, like, what are the conversations? Because if you've been in sales, you know that most jobs, there are about 10 conversations that you have all the time, and there's another 5 to 10 that you have sometimes.
Yeah.
And you've just done those so many times that you do them on automatic.
yeah, it's like it's
And if
almost
you can
scripted to a
write those
point.
down,
Yep.
and you can give those written to your L2s and help them learn it and help them practice it and rehearse it, then
Yeah.
they're on their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Myke, you said before that there is 2.2 billion L2 English speakers in the world at the moment.
Well, it's 2.2 billion people who are speaking or learning English. So some of them are not quite at a functional level, but it's probably about 1.7 billion that we can actually say they speak L2 English well enough to look for a job, to enter the job market.
So overall, do you think the English language proficiency is improving?
What a word to
I
trip
might
over
try
there.
Well, apparently not in Australia.
Apparently it is rubbish.
Is it improving worldwide, or is it getting worse, or is there more speakers that are improving their skills, or is it changing? Is it changing to a different language?
I think that what's happening is that the large number of L2 English speakers is putting pressure on the English language to change. Now, English has always been a language that evolved. We've gone through Old English, through Middle English, through Elizabethan English, into modern English. So it's always changing. And it's really working at getting a little bit simpler to pronounce, simpler to talk about. And the possibilities for this are endless. But one of the first things that we're seeing now is we're just seeing words lose consonants. Right? When was the last time you heard somebody ask for chocolate?
Yeah. Especially over here, it's like, do you have chocky?
It's chocolate.
Last
We
time,
don't even
chocolate.
do that. We're chocky.
So what happened is we took out the O vowel. We're taking out that's like an O vowel. And when you take out a vowel, you take out a syllable. And so now instead of a 3-syllable word, you have a 2-syllable word, which is easier to pronounce.
Chocolate.
And there are quite a few words where this has happened.
Yeah.
I think that there's some really, really interesting things. English is, I won't say it's a bit of a rarity in that nouns in English don't have gender.
Mm-hmm.
We only refer to gender when we're talking about people or animals or boats.
Yeah.
So, and now, and we were talking about differences in culture.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little. Well, we're talking about the future. I won't say it like that, but right now, do you have your pronouns on your email? Do you list your pronouns?
No.
I don't. But
A lot of people, certainly in North America, lots and lots of people are listing their pronouns, and we may see a shift in possessive pronouns where we'll get rid of words like Mr. and Ms. and Mrs. And we'll have a new generation of words that more clearly describe the person's gender. And then we'll just ditch he, him, hers, and his and go with they, which would simplify the language. And you would know what the person's gender or gender preference by the introduction to their name.
What's your stance on that?
My sense on that is that we're talking about far in the future.
Yeah, because
So
I'm not
I'm
ready
not.
to.
I'm not. What I'm saying is that the possibilities for English to change,
Yeah.
to simplify, English is really complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what the number one rule for English is?
What's that?
The
I
number
before E.
one English rule that you have to teach someone when they're starting to learn English and you're teaching them the rules, the number one rule.
I've got no idea.
Yeah. Go for it, Mike. What is it?
The rules don't work most of the time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. When you think
The
of like,
rules,
that's a good.
the
I before
rules
E, except
have
after C.
Yeah,
all kinds
yeah.
of exceptions.
yeah, literally I before E, except if it's after C. Like,
Unless it's 3C for, it's
Yeah.
yes,
And then
that's
there's-
always the best example.
yeah.
But there are all kinds of examples.
Oh, yeah,
So-
there. 222, weather. We somehow can put in a sentence that. That doesn't even
Yeah.
make sense.
How about the fact that the letters OUGHT or OUGH have like 8 different sounds?
Yeah. But isn't it even like there's one, I can't think of it off the top of my head now, but there's one, tear and tear.
Yeah.
Tear and tear. It's spelt the same.
Yeah,
But
but there are a lot of words like that.
it is, but it
There are probably about 3 dozen words that change their meaning when you change the syllable stress.
yeah, and the context that
You're
it's written in.
recording this. You're
Yeah.
recording this to the verb, so you're going to have a record,
Yeah,
which is a noun.
yeah. Look.
So English is very, very complex.
Are we the hardest
And-
language
and-
to learn?
It's a difficult language to learn,
Yeah.
but we didn't actually decide to make English a global language.
Mm.
That was other countries that decided that they were going to start educating their populations in English. And that started just after the Second World War. And it really, really took off in the 1980s to the 1990s. And the internet just blew it. So I wrote a book in sort of 2002, I think, and he said the only thing that is going to keep English from being a global language is access to English teachers, because the internet was new.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize just how much online teaching and access to movies and access to materials were going to affect the expansion. Because we say, we say 2.2 billion, but there are a lot of people who are just learning on their own. That number comes from schools and people, Duolingo and other
enrolled into
apps that
something.
report how many people are using it.
Yeah.
But we don't know how many people are out there on their own.
I don't know how they do it. I really don't. I mean, sadly, very sadly, because I'm enjoying this a lot. We're getting to the end. Have you got anything? I
sad.
know. It is sad because I'm loving this.
Mike,
I don't know, I'm having a great time. I'm sorry. I'm coming to close.
is globalization or emerging culture going to have the biggest impact on English as a second language moving
I'm
forward?
sorry, I missed that. Can you say that again?
That's fine. And that's what I'm saying. I'm a bit scared about speaking about linguistics because my speech is quite terrible.
I can't even say linguistic. I literally yesterday I was like, okay, so we've got Myke in. And it took me 5 times.
It scared
And
me
then
straight
I'm
away.
like, you know what? I'm just not saying that when we speak.
So is emerging culture?
Linguistics?
Sorry,
You're trying to say linguistics?
Linguistic.
No, you got me. Yeah.
If you like, do you like Italian food?
Oh, I love
Linguini.
Italian. Oh, linguini, yeah.
Linguini with chopsticks. Linguistics.
Oh,
Linguistics.
linguistics. We've both just done it straight up then. Anyway, back to you,
Anyway,
Dan.
sorry,
Oh,
Mike.
no, it's an English
yeah.
coach.
So is emerging culture or globalization going to change English as a second language? Or is it something else?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have in the back of my head this idea that what we might need is a new English language. Leave the English language as we have it for English people, and then have a second English language, which is much smaller. It has a less vocabulary size, that it's easier to learn, easier to work with, and English people will be able to learn it incredibly easily because it's just a shorter version of our own English, and it'll be easier to teach to second language people. But all of this is, I have a blog on Substack called 21st Century English, where I get to speculate about all this stuff, but I kind of do it to feel what I know about it. So for me, it's
they're gonna know
a
about
fun
it now.
thing to think about what's going to happen to English. But it's certain that there is a lot of flux in the language, and we just have to see what the future brings. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Okay. Myke, something we like to ask all of our guests before we wrap up, is if there was, and I'm going to put it in a way that you can actually answer it, is we are the business game, a podcast that moves the needle. You are a linguistics, look at me go, coach. What is one thing, one piece of advice you can give these business leaders of L2 that will help them move the needle within their business?
Because our brains are formed by our first language, because we think better, because we're more creative, but also they think differently because of their language. Sometimes people come up with really great ideas, but they have trouble explaining, and we L1s have trouble understanding because their thought process is a little different, because their L1 is a little different. And I mean, I always talk about, don't laugh. Sometimes don't laugh, but give it some time. Think about it. Work with them. How can they express what this idea is, which is something that would probably never occur to an L1 English speaker. That's what breakthroughs happen. That's where we get the real benefit of having people from different cultures coming and working on our projects. That's why the fact that people who are working on projects like cancer research or climate change, why it is so powerful when they can all come together and present in English, because they're all working in their own languages in their own labs with a different mind, literally with a different mind. So be patient and be open and have that mindset that these people they're pretty smart, even if they, don't speak English perfectly. And they can have really, really great ideas, but they're having a little trouble expressing, as they can push that needle really far in one shot.
It's fantastic.
I love that.
I did.
I love that answer. I don't think we could have finished on a better note, to be honest.
I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
So did I. So, Myke,
And so did I.
one more time, give us the elevator pitch on who you are, what you do, before we sadly have to end the episode.
I am Myke Wilder. I am a linguistic coach, and I work with executives to help them manage communications and multilingual teams.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Myke. And just so you know, I will have all your details down the bottom here in the captions of the video on YouTube and on the podcast details as well. So we'll make sure that people can reach out to you if they need your advice, which I think the way the world is now, there is no reason why any manager that works with an L2 speaker wouldn't take your advice on board. I really just can't see why you wouldn't do that. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Me too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Myke, and
Thanks,
we'll catch you
Myke.
next time.
Have a good one.
Yes.
Ciao, ciao.
To help support our continued mission to provide free, best-in-class advice from the world's most compelling business leaders, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. See you next Thursday.
Thanks for tuning into The Business Game. If you like what you've heard, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor Codeworthy for powering today's episode, and join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.